everybody and welcome back to my channel. For this painting I start out with a line at the horizon in Prussian blue where the sea meets the sky. I used a reference for this background and there it was darker on the line where the sky meets the sea. And then I continue with a mix of titanium white, primary cyan and turquoise. And we blend it into the Prussian blue, like in a way that there's only a thin line left. As you can see, I add a lot of titanium white. Both primary cyan and turquoise are very strong colors, which means you need a lot of titanium white to make it a little bit natural. And then I go in with a mix of titanium white, primary cyan, carmine and a little bit of vermilion. The reason I do this is because if you just use the first three colors, you get a little bit of purplish, while you want pinkish water for this. And I alternate this with the earlier mix of primary cyan and turquoise. And like that you get a kind of spot or area of the pinkish color. And this will reflect the sky. And that's what you often see, that water and the sky are almost the same color. Here I go in with a little bit more turquoise. And here I use a little bit more primary cyan and I blend this well into the other colors. And since it's a sea and something will be jumping out of there, there are waves, and like we see the front side of the waves, but the front side is basically away from the light. I'm not really sure if a wave has a front and a back side, but basically if you were at the beach, the thing you see, that's the front side in my head. And since it's away from the light, it's made from a darker color. By the way, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, you can comment them down below. I gladly answer them. can alternate a bit between the size of the waves. They won't be very big, but a few bigger ones and a few smaller ones is nice. And you can gradually pull the bigger waves into the background color. But don't make it too gradual. Again, we see a darker side of the waves, and there's basically very little light falling upon it. Way less light than on the rest of the sea. So just don't make it too chunky, but leave a small gradient. You can also alternate between the color, or like the amount of turquoise or Prussian blue that you put into the color for the waves. So you can make a few darker ones, a few lighter ones. So when we're done with the waves, we continue on the sky. These will be partially like sky color, and that's what I'm making now. So that's a lot of titanium white with a little bit of brilliant blue, a little bit of carmine to make it less cold, and a really tiny tad of oxide black. I won't fill in the whole sky, and you also don't have to if you know that there will be clouds in another color. Just as a general advice. I don't like wasting paint, and you probably also am not fond of it. Paint can be expensive. So you have to work a little bit quick, as we want the clouds to be a little bit blended into the sky color. And for the clouds we use titanium white, carmine, brilliant blue and vermilion. And this way they have a little bit of a pinkish glow. Again, it's not the exact same color as you can see in the sea, but it's close. And if the sky color has already dried up, you can try to create a transitional color, but also don't be too bummed out if the transition isn't too gradual, because they're clouds, they are in front of the sky, so they have another color. And even if it doesn't look good in your eyes, or it doesn't look like you imagined it, other people don't know how you imagine your painting. That's the beauty of painting. You can just make something and other people don't know what it's supposed to look like. They can like it for what it is. Or not. But then they're stupid. So I already made a silhouette of the hippocampus with gesso, and for the color of the hippocampus I use carmine, primary cyan and titanium white. Yeah, you probably noticed that throughout the whole painting I basically use the same sets of colors, or the same kind of colors, and the reason for that is that the lighting of the background often influences the subjects that are within the area, environment, however you want to call it. So it basically makes it more one, like it belongs there. And also with the same few colors you can actually make quite some colors. Like if you put a lot of carmine in this mix, it looks completely different than if you put a lot of primary cyan in it, or if you increase or decrease the titanium white amounts. Again, it's a whole other color. For the shadows I do use a tiny bit of oxide black. Sorry. But I mostly try to add more primary cyan and especially less titanium white. And I just fill in the horse. I don't really know how to explain how I decide to fill this in, except that I just look at the musculature of a jumping horse and I just look where are the shadows in its body and where are the lighter parts in its body. Again, for the shadows I used a little bit of oxide black, but I also use Prussian blue. I think I use more Prussian blue than oxide black, definitely. Black shadows often kind of give your painting like a hollow or flat look. So if you want to use it, like only use a little bit and try to use complementary colors or darker colors that are similar. And for the mains I use Prussian blue and a little bit of carmine for like the shadowy parts, the parts that are close, excuse me, to the neck. And I use the carmine actually only to make the transition into the top part of the manes a little bit better, because the top parts, for the top parts we use vermilion, which is an orange color, and we blend this into the Prussian blue. And for the tail of the hippocampus we use a mix of, again, titanium white, primary cyan and carmine, but we use a lot more titanium white, so it's lighter. I didn't want to use the same color for the tail and the upper body part of the horse, because in my imagination a hippocampus is literally part horse with fur and partially a scaly tail. But that's just how I see it, and you are free to see a hippocampus however you want. If you want all scales, go ahead. I turned the painting because my arm didn't want to make a certain movement. And on the bottom of the tail we use Prussian blue as the shadow color, and we blend this into the rest of the color. And on top of the tail I blend in a little bit of quinacridone rose that will serve as a reflection of the sky. And for the fins we use primary magenta, quinacridone rose and vermilion, and the primary magenta we use mostly near the spikies in the fin, which are, by the way, made from mostly Prussian blue. And the more to the middle and upper part of the fin we go, yeah, the more we transition into vermilion. And we do the same with the tail fin. I think it's called tail fin, except that we use Prussian blue for the shadowy parts, or like the shadows where the folds in the fin are. For the rest, yeah, we do the same as with the back fin, so we use magenta and vermilion more towards the middle of the fin, or the parts that leave through more light. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, I would really appreciate it. And if you want to see more tutorials, subscribe to my channel. I post them weekly, and they range from basically paint alongs to art tips and tricks. As something that's jumping out of the water, of course, there will be splatters of water, and we make those with titanium white. Add a lot of water for it and use a stiff brush. I use a toothbrush to splatter the paint with your finger on the painting. And I would really suggest adding quite some water, as you otherwise end up with thick splatters that look very unnatural. And you can also cover up part of your place where you're painting, and especially your painting itself, to prevent splatters ending up somewhere where they don't belong. I learned this the hard way. And this way you can also create like an area where you only want the splatters. And just remove a bit if you're not happy with where your white splatters are. And I use my fingers to make an upward motion, and that way like create the water that's literally going up. I don't know if it has a name. Water going upwards. With this, I also want to remind you that my mythological creature series is for sale now in my Etsy shop. I will link it down below. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week with another painting that I don't know yet what it's gonna be.